Joining us now, she's the assistant coach at Texas, of course, former great player at Notre Dame. She's become a regular on our show, which is awesome. Always love having her on the show. Speak of Coach Megan Bartlett joining us back here on In the Circle. Good. I like this tradition we're doing here.
I like it too. Thank you for having me. So good to see you.
Well, great to see you as well. Let's first talk about this. Is now you're entering your third season at Texas here. I mean, second season. That's right, second.
Does it feel like my third season?
It feels like your third. It's there for years.
I know. Yeah. No, season number 2.
How has it been going for you so far? For the first couple seasons there now in Austin. Now that you've settled in, what's it been like?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I honestly feel very, very blessed. I don't know that I could have landed in a better staff situation, group of kids, honestly, in college athletics. Coach White's wonderful. It's been a super happy fit with Coach Singleton. We have a ton of fun. Hit the recruiting trail hard, got some amazing kids and love the group. And I don't know that we could have better support than we do at the University of Texas. The whole crew, right? So our bosses are amazing. Our staff's amazing. And it's been fun. It's been pretty seamless and we've just got to work. So we're pretty excited about this group in that coming year.
You got a great team coming back, a big time roster coming back, and from an experience, from a team, you were one win away from the Women's College World Series. What's been the message that you as a staff have given the players, especially returns? Such an experienced group. I would imagine some unfinished business, maybe. What's kind of the mindset has been like this fall?
Yeah, the kids have been on a mission. We have had tremendous leadership, especially out of that super senior group. Janae Jefferson, who's absolutely outstanding, right? Everything the kid does, the way she trains, the way she leads, her dedication on the field and off the field, she absolutely walks the walk. Janae doesn't do a lot of talking. Then she has the wonderful Mary Iacopo and Lauren Burke, to help her along the way there. And the three of them, yes, it's absolutely been locked in, focused. They're on a mission. They're going back to Oklahoma City. And it's something that comes up one way or another every single day. The kids are together, we train. And the mission really to this point has just been one more. Are we all upholding the standard? Are we doing one more rep? Are we pushing our PR another 10 pounds? Are we making an adjustment, in the cage? Whatever it is, what does every single person on that roster, right? All 21 of them, 22 come this spring. What do they have to do to get us over that hump? One more game. That's what it's going to take to get there and make a run in OKC. So it's been fun. I can tell you, I'm excited about this group and I'm excited for what's to come because the way these older ones have shown these younger ones how to work and how to be tough and how to get after it, it's going to just pay dividends in the program for the years to come. It's pretty cool.
You mentioned, I want to talk more about Jefferson because she's part of the 45 player invitee list for Team USA. She'll be part of the trials there to try to make Team USA for 2022. What you mentioned what makes her so great? She sets the example. What makes her such a talented player, though? One of the best in the country?
Yeah, I mean, at the plate, she's exceptional. I don't know. I really, really hope she gets the shot to show what she can do on an international stage. There's not many ways to beat that kid. Her hand-eye coordination is exceptional. I think Coach Singleton did an outstanding job with her when he got here, really transitioned her into a triple threat at the plate. I mean, her swing is she swings more than she does, slaps or even bunts anymore. And the kid can get the ball to leave the yard. She can drop bunts in your face. There's so many things she can do. She's so hard to beat at the plate. Her eye is so good. So offensively, she is absolutely dynamic and she works her tail off to be great at all those skills. Defensively, I don't know that I've ever seen, and I have played with some absolutely exceptional defenders, especially, in the NPF, some great middle infielders. I don't know that I've seen anybody better than her. I mean, she's got exceptional overhand arm speed. She gets rid of the ball so quickly. And the things she can just do with her glove, we just say it all the time. We just watch her, I'll just hit her some ridiculous ball up the middle, and she ends up backhand, flip her feet, do some crazy spinorama, puts the ball in the money to first base. And I'm like, normal humans just can't do that. And she makes it look routine and she makes it look easy. To be fair, we encourage that in her. We encourage her creativity doing special things with the glove. And it's an environment I just think she's gotten to flourish in a little bit, and use what makes her great. But she just makes an insane play look very vanilla. And she does it every day. And that's just how she operates and how she trains. And she's a good teammate and she's a great kid. I just think the world of her, and I hope she gets a shot.
You got a lot of new faces too on the roster. I remember speaking to Coach White at the Super Regional in Stillwater, and he talked about this class coming in, that this was a class he was excited about. There was a potentially for a lot of starters, definitely impact players that are going to contribute big time. Who are some of the new faces that's kind of stood out, that some names that Longhorn fans will get familiar with once the season gets going, and maybe you've already seen here in the fall?
Yeah. I mean, Sophia Simpson was a huge get in that class, right? She was one of the absolute best pitchers in her class. She's a fiery competitor. She's a Texas kid. And she is all those things, right? Like I think Coach Singleton described her once as she's a show to herself on the mound. And he's not wrong. And that's who Soph is. And it's what makes her good. And of course, the changeup's dynamic, and Coach has done some really impressive things with her in the bullpen this fall. And I think she's going to have the ability to really go up, down, and move it off speed as her career goes on. So we're very excited about her. Mia Scott might be the most talented athlete I think any of us have ever coached. I think what Mia can be is really, really, really special. Left-handed triple threat player. I mean, plus, just absolutely exceptional speed. Her base running instincts are just off the chart. She locks down third base. She is excellent. I think Katie Simis is going to push for time behind the plate. That kid has, she has this ability to catch barrels, right? So like if you test Katie, it's not off the charts, right? Her exit velo is very good. She's got good adjustability in her swing, but man, that kid understands movement. She understands timing. And we are just, we're really, really pleased at this point. So yeah. And we got a lot of new ones.
Well, and that's the thing. You got a deeper.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Right. You've got a deeper roster. Like, because I remember I'll never forget, I talked to Coach White during his first year when they were in Clearwater, and he talked about how he had to move players to positions they hadn't played before to create depth and things like that. That doesn't seem to be a problem here anymore. You got some more depth and probably some good competition going on.
We do. The middle infield battle, I think, is obviously Janae will lock up second base. Mackenzie Parker did a really nice job for us there at shortstop last year. Especially, I think once we kind of hit postseason, she really hit her stride defensively, hitting the top, I think, 3 in the lineup for us most of the year. Mackenzie went off like a video game this fall. I mean, she hits for average, she hits for power, she does some pretty special things, can play a really nice shortstop for us. Defensively, it looks like Alyssa Washington's going to make a real solid push there, which Parker will, of course, will stay in the lineup and stay on the field, but she's just such a good athlete. She can move somewhere else. So I think it's definitely worth, Mackenzie Parker's, she's going to be one of those names, for the next, she's got 2 years left in her career with the whole, crazy COVID break and things like that. So that's, I think, a real special bat that people are going to start to hear her name a lot. And then Jordan Whitaker, who had some big hits for us in postseason last year, has come on beautifully at the plate. We'll finally have a healthy Courtney Day back. And Courtney Day in the 2019 season, right before I got there, was the 3-hitter. And she put up video game numbers, right? Didn't quite get healthy last season. So we're thrilled to have Court back in the lineup. And then you've got, of course, Mary Iacopo, and you've got Lauren Burke. So a very veteran, very veteran lineup, tons of depth all over the place. But it's going to be really, really nice to have some depth on the left side of the infield, especially.
As somebody who runs the defense, I'm curious how you feel about your defense now compared to a year ago, because I've had a lot of coaches on this offseason. They told me that the biggest thing that was a hurdle this past year with the protocols, and obviously depending where you're at, there was different things you could and could not do. But they said the thing that was the most affected by not having a normal fall last year was not offense or pitching, but defense. that they were kind of playing catch up defensively because you didn't have the normal routines or the reps in the fall. You couldn't figure out some things. Was that, I mean, how would you describe that from a challenge from a coaching defense with some of the restrictions? And now this fall, you have some more opportunities. You probably feel pretty good about where you stand defensively here.
Yeah, having a whole Mackenzie Parker and Alyssa Washington are 4 and 5-tool kids, right? I mean, they are just really, really exceptional athletes. But the reality is neither one of them had played much of Division I shortstop at all. And we had to, live through some growing pains there, which I think are definitely going to pay off this year. And then now we have a whole crop of kids that we can actually keep Mary behind the plate and use Mary at first base, where she's actually tremendous. I mean, that you can imagine that her feet and that glove at first base are really just special. But yeah, with the addition of, Mia Scott, Bree Cantu did a really nice job this fall. She was actually a transfer we got a year ago from Texas Tech. And she was a junior national team pool kid. And I think another thing, Texas is a big stage, and it's kind of funny like that, right? Every game's on TV, Longhorn Network, you're playing into postseason. And we had a lot of kids, I think, just by nature of COVID and coach is just going to his 4th season year. So anytime there's just a lot of movement. There is, like, you're trying to recruit kids quickly and pull kids into the mix. And sometimes the skill set matches up for what you needed, and sometimes it doesn't. So same thing, I think probably not so much. We had a fall last year, but we had a lot of new kids and had a lot of young kids. To me, those kids feel like juniors and seniors now, right? Because they played so much as freshmen. They don't feel like they're wide-eyed stepping onto the field for the first time as sophomores, which it was a long year at points.
Right.
But they fought through it, and they stuck together, and yeah, it feels completely different. It feels like we have things under control. We communicate better. We had good physical skill to begin with. Whether or not we felt ready to compete in a big moment, I think that really showed our youth, right? And our lack of depth showed up then. And I don't think I'm being overly optimistic right now. We won't be perfect, but I think we're going to compete better on a big stage.
Well, we even saw signs of that at the end of last season. I'll never forget the Oregon game, the one that got you to the Supers. You don't win that game without some great defensive plays in that game.
Absolutely. And some moxie and some fight. I thought our pitching efforts were just outstanding on that day. I thought Shaylin O'Leary threw a beautiful game 1, and just, we fell short with the bats. And then Molly Jacobson absolutely threw that gem in game 2. Yeah. And the defense showed up behind her. And I think it was a great turning point, because I really think, especially the older ones knew that we were capable. I think the younger ones started to believe it in that moment. There wasn't one person on our road up for game 3 at Oklahoma State that wasn't like, yeah, we're the underdogs here somehow, and we're going to get this done. Right. And again, I can see that slap go right up the middle of the field.
But you're battle tested, though.
George Sting and I are still talking about it.
Bet.
We're like, no. But yeah, much more battle tested. When they start to not just handle the big moment, but really start to thrive and enjoy the big moment, I think we finally got something special.
Well, and you mentioned it. I mean, that Oregon, that regional in general, with Oregon and Texas State, that was a battle. I mean, there was so much, hoopla over that regional, right? And then you play Oklahoma State, which I've been on record. I hate when conference teams play each other in postseason, but whatever. Yeah. That's an intense deal. I mean, your team is definitely going to be battle tested. There's not going to be anything that's going to phase this team at all, I would think, here coming in 2022, because you've seen it all.
Yeah, we've seen it all. And Coach White, he will play anybody and everybody. He will play the toughest schedule he can get his hands on. And ask and you shall receive. Preseason's going to be a tough one, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the kids are going to compete and get after it.
You mentioned O'Leary. Obviously, she'll lead your pitching staff. Obviously, big news recently with the addition of Haley Docini coming over from Fresno State, was the Mountain West Conference Pitcher of the Year. Big boost. She comes in, I believe, in January. Just talk about your pitching staff as a whole, especially adding one as late as you did, but as talented as Docini. Now you got to fit her in with O'Leary and the rest of the staff you've got.
Yeah, Shaylin was absolutely the rock for us, right? She threw a ton of innings. She won a ton of big games. we're really, really blessed, I think, on the mound. Coach I know he's having a blast with this group, and it's hard not to, because every day he goes to the bullpen right now. He's, especially this fall, there's the four. I mean, those are elite level pitchers, right? Like Shaylin is excellent. The addition of Estelle Check, she has got to be one of the most dynamic left-handers in the country. Just tons of raw ability. He's got her working 3 speeds right now. She is hard to hit, and she competes. She's just a gritty Midwest Chicago kid, whose little brother actually just committed to play baseball at Texas. So we're so thrilled for the Check family. We're just stealing them all down to Austin. But yeah, Estelle is so impressed with what she does. And of course, we've already talked about Sophia with that dynamic changeup. And she's a ton of fun to work with. And then you have Logan Huon, who throws hard. That kid has got effortless power. And I do think he intends to see how they settle in and kind of use them like a baseball staff, right? Like we're going to have some starters and some middle relievers, probably somebody that gravitates toward closing games, which we're really excited about, right? That's really, really hard to beat a team with that many, weapons, if you will, in their arsenal. But the reality of most of them is they all work a bit down. So with the addition of Miss Haley Dolcini, who came on her visit and immediately just clicked with the kids, right? Like Haley is a queen and she's a competitor. So not only, yes, is she going to work screw rise and get to, be this wonderful balance to everybody in the bullpen, but I really think she's just got that competitive air about her that's just going to help bring the pitching staff along, and they're going to lead the charge. Anytime you have kids on the mound like that just like they do not give in and they refuse to lose. And now hopefully we can pick up the ball behind them, right? And drive in some runs and continue with the nice offensive success we've had. It can be something pretty special. But yeah, honestly, the pitching staff, it was nice to see. They embraced her, right? And coach kind of delivered the message, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what it's going to take to get to Oklahoma City and compete for a natty. And that's what they all came here to do, right? So they're all not only very talented pitchers, they're smart pitchers, right? And they all watch each of them throw in the bullpen every day. And when everybody throws a hard down ball, that they're like, oh, somebody that can work up and miss bats that way. Yeah, that's going to be important. We need that to win. And they don't care how it happens.
By the way, Docina's another battle-tested pitcher. She's pitched in big games. She's won. She knows what it's like to win big games, win a conference championship. She pitched it against UCLA, shut them down in the postseason. So, I mean, to have somebody like that, I mean, this again, I know it's a theme I keep saying, but I mean, you've got players that are not going to be afraid of the big games, and you mentioned this, at Texas, the spotlight's there. Every game's televised. I mean, and I think it's to have players that are not going to be too concerned about that kind of stuff, that have gone through all the battles, that knows, they thrive on it.
Yeah, I really do. I think they will. And I'm ready for them to start beating up on somebody else, like to just come up for some air and fall ball and not, coach, I think it was finally our final scrimmage. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, one of us always leaves mad. It's like, you're not wrong. I'm excited that to not happen anymore. The pitching coach leaves mad or the hitting coaches leave mad. So yeah. But yeah, now we feel very blessed. We do. We'll roll with this crew anywhere and we're ready to go.
Speak of the dynamic of the staff, because obviously when we had you last year, you were all still kind of learning each other, getting to know each other. Now that you've gotten to know each other, talk about the dynamics of the staff, because you all have your different roles, but yet you all kind of work together, right, on some decisions. So just talk about the dynamic of the staff and how that's been going, especially for you. You were a head coach for such a long time. Now you're an assistant. So you had to kind of adjust a little bit as well.
Yeah. It's been good. I think what pulls us together, I think all 3 of us in particular, we're pretty family oriented people. And that's what it's kind of become, right? That there's a nice, we genuinely enjoy each other. There's a nice lightness about it. You can imagine we're 3 super competitive people. So when it gets quick, it gets serious in a hurry. But no, I think coach, he handles it wonderfully. I mean, he is definitely not a micromanager, right? That he brought us to Austin to do a job. We definitely have a say in who we're going after in recruiting. And of course we clear all of our decisions past him, and we want his input and his wisdom. And I think the man's probably forgotten more about softball than I'll ever know. But his instincts are good, and he's a good man, and he's a good mentor. So I think as we've settled in, that kind of that trust and that bond's gotten tighter and tighter. And it's been nice it's just fun. Like, we just go to the office and we joke and we laugh and we have some coffee, and then we go to practice. And hopefully that's starting to rub off on the kids too, right? That they see us enjoy them and enjoy, each other and what's going on. And I think we talk a lot about energy in the program. We had the team read the energy bus this fall, and I think it was a really cool turning point. We have a mental skills coach. Hillary Coffin is absolutely exceptional at what she does. And so we've just been able to kind of fill in the cracks, and how we're, I guess, driving the culture in that respect it's been fun to see. You get to do this for 4 years. You're not Major League Baseball players. You're not going to do this for 20, 30 years. You get 4 years. These are going to be your bridesmaids and your best friends. And, these kids they're learning a lot about themselves, between 18 and 22. And it's such an interesting thing. I think the more I love listening to podcasts, and the most important thing we do is recruit good families into the program. And then we mentor their kids along the way. Our relationship with our players is the most important thing we do. And I think the three of us as a staff genuinely feel that. So it's a pretty easy environment to work in.
Sounds like probably even easier transition for you than maybe people would have expected, because you played for Coach Deanna Gumpf, and I see a lot of similarities there, what you just said. Fair?
Yeah. Oh my God. She's wonderful. Coach is the most patient, kind. I think what did we do? I don't want to blow up her age, but all the alumni got together and Lizzie cut this beautiful film. I think it was maybe for we're going to say her 35th birthday. But it was like, you had to describe Deanna in one word, and then you got to say a little, something. And I think the word I used was goodness. She's just kind to her core, and she's patient, and she's such a good teacher. And we laugh about all the crazy stuff, because, I played for her first 4 years of being a head coach. So I feel like softball we had down, and everything else, she was having Brady, she just had Brady my freshman fall, and which is totally a life phase I can appreciate now with my two young ones. But she handled it all gracefully and beautifully. And she's continued to be a friend and a mentor. And she's just, she's amazing. I feel very, very blessed to know her, and have learned and, gotten to be part of her family and her crew for so long.
Yeah, you all stay in touch. She told us, she talked about that she texted you. You mentioned earlier about, every game Texas is broadcasted, things go viral. You had a viral moment.
Oh my goodness. She was loving that. I feel like she felt like that was the world snapshot into what she had to deal with for 4 years.
Yeah, that's what she said.
There it is. It's just angry and theatrical. I was like, whatever.
You got ejected from a game against Oklahoma State, and she said she got the video, and she texted you. She said, "Oh, Megan." That was her response on that. I'm not going to ask you about but what was that like to get that feedback from Coach? Did you expect her to reach out to you, and you're like, she's going to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was 100 little laughy emojis right after that. She just couldn't help herself. They probably kept coming for 3 days, and I just knew what she was talking about. Yeah, she lot of years, a lot of memories, a lot of laughter. I'm just happy I can make that woman smile still on a daily basis.
She definitely did. She definitely said she never laughed so hard when she got to say that clip. But she talked about, that's what she said. You bring a lot of passion to your profession, and you always have the players back. And you were like that as a player, as a leader, as a fiery. Just talk about how you are similar and how you're different when you were as a player to now as a coach.
Man, you always have the best questions, Eric. Yes, so she is right. I think a lot of my strength for a long time was I am very fiery and I'm very passionate, and I'm competitive, and I love to compete. Love it. It could have been, I just happen to be really good at softball, but it could have been volleyball. It could have been checkers. It could have been whatever. If I would have been the most amazing checkers player in the world, I would have been flipping the board and like fist pumping or something. I don't know, when I won. So I think those things, I don't know that I could tamp if I wanted to sometimes. I think as a coach, definitely since I've been a head coach, you know, in, I don't know, the past 10 years or so, I think you learn to find some patience and find some grace, and learn when to channel those things. I think they're really important, because I think when you're young, especially with like being fiery and being passionate, it's really easy to be frustrated and negative, right? Like those things all kind of live in the same world. And the big challenge as I got older was, can I be all those things, but can I still be unfailingly positive, right? Like how coach was saying, like, man, she had her teammates back when she was a player, and now I have my players back. But that's what I try and provide every day, like energy, positivity. The reality, especially, is just the generations have moved on and changed. This generation, they do not need someone to yell at them. They don't need someone to scream at them, and they don't need another reason, right, to think they're not good at what they do. And this is, I don't care what level you play at, right? This is 5-2-old. You're playing top 10 softball, you're playing low major, you're playing high school, it's just nature of this generation, right? And then even being a female. And it just gets kind of doubled down, that you constantly feel a little judged and you constantly feel a little bit insecure, and they don't need that. They need someone to tell them that they're strong and smart and talented and powerful, and their opinion matters and their voice matters, and what they're doing is good enough. And I think those are the most powerful tools that I use as a coach. And honestly, I wholeheartedly believe in them. But much, much different than when I was like diving into bases and, you know, fist pumping and whatever other craziness I was running around doing, making Deanna crazy.
Yeah, I think
there's no telling.
No telling there. By the way, that's a pretty competitive staff you're in, by the way. I mean, you mentioned you're competitive, but Coach White pretty competitive. Coach Singleton, I mean,
crazy competitive.
Right? A little competitive there in practice. You mentioned earlier, Coach White said somebody always leaves mad, right? Is that?
Somebody always leaves mad. Yeah, no, I think Coach is the ultimate competitor. Yeah, he's just a brilliant tactician. He really is. And I feel like everything he says and does, I mean, he could be chirping at an umpire, right? That it's like there was a reason, or he'll make an offhanded comment to, like, a coach will walk by and he'd be like, hey, it's not even mean. And I'm like, it's this whole men's fast pitch thing. Like, I'm going to give up a double right now. So I strike the guy out 3 more times. And I'm like, it's just this whole like chess match in his brain that he's 3 steps ahead. And then you've got Sing and I, like the young fiery ones that, oh my gosh, Sing, he's so funny. He literally, I will tell you, we're so similar like that, right? So passionate and high energy and exuberant. He's far funnier than I am, right? So like, I'm just constantly going to try and keep the energy in the right place, keep the kids calm when they need it, pump them up a little bit when they need it. And then we're just like the comedy tag team, except he's the funny one, and he'll keep them laughing. And, but yeah, nobody likes to lose less, I think, than Steve Singleton. He will always keep us on track with, are we doing enough? Are we working hard enough? Are we getting after it the right way? Which is perfect. It's created a really nice balance. But that's what I was saying earlier. Like, we 3 really genuinely enjoy each other. But then when like a conversation gets heated or gets competitive, it goes there like 0 to 60. And I think that's probably one of those things. It's like, I just had to learn that, especially when you're not the head coach anymore, like you see that coming and you either like calm or you diffuse, or, you know, whatever my function is in that moment. You know, use my lawyerly
that's right. You have a lawyer background. Yeah.
Sometimes that's just okay. Well, and then I'm like, let's just make a pro and con checklist, you know, whatever it'll be.
That's pretty good. It's a great staff, and obviously you got a great team. And my last question to you, between now and February, you mentioned you're gonna have another challenging schedule, as you always do. One of the things people are already out there. You're going to be playing in Clearwater, one of the premier tournaments in the sport. Texas will be back in that tournament. That's going to be exciting. But what's going to be the keys for this team to accomplish your internal goals here between now and the start of the season and then into the season? What are some of the keys?
Yeah, I think we can't expect perfection right away in a big moment. But we have to continue to get better in a big moment, because the reality is we're going to have a lot of big moments as the year goes on. A lot of big games, a lot of big matchups, a lot of top 10 matchups. So I think it's easy to get frustrated and get defeatist if things don't go the way that you want in one exact moment. Did we learn and did we get better from it? Right? Like the move to the SEC is actually, I'm really, whenever it comes, I'm really looking forward to, especially that's what I felt like. We got punched a couple times last season. And then just by nature, the way the schedule would work, the next weekend didn't necessarily challenge us the right way, right? Like it's just how, whether,
Sure.
The conference schedule or whatever, the way things worked out, you don't get that luxury in the SEC anymore. Oh, you're going to get punched. Can you turn around, or are you going to punch back? Are you just going to lay on the floor and let someone walk all over you, right? So by the time you hit postseason, I just feel like I'm excited for this preseason schedule, because we're going to get tested a lot. And we just have to stay calm and stay the course. It won't be perfect. To your point earlier, we've got so many tools and we have so much depth that we will figure out who's great and what kind of moment and how we use the whole bench. It will be fine. But I think sometimes, again, it's easy to get negative or get defeatist in a moment that doesn't go your way. And if kids can get past that and they can keep their eye on the prize and keep their eye on, if you're doing the work and your process is good, we're talented, we will be fine. And if we can just stay in that headspace and stay calm, we're going to be great. Like I'm excited to see what the end of the year is going to be.
That is Texas Assistant Coach Megan Bartlett joining us once again here on In the Circle. Awesome to have you on. I like our tradition or get together. I know you're with family and stuff, so I appreciate you taking time. I know it's a busy time, but thanks so much for doing this, and I'll see you soon during the season.
That's awesome. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you.